In-person real estate activities are permitted in New York City as part of Phase 2. However, they are subject to a range of new restrictions and required safety protocols imposed by Empire State Development and the Department of Health. There are also other suggested best practices from the Real Estate Board of New York and the New York Association of Realtors. These suggested best practices include the use of health screening questionnaires and COVID-19 disclosure forms. I'm Nick at Hauseit, and in this video, we will tell you everything you need to know about how New York City's Phase 2 reopening will affect the residential real estate market. So let's get started. Are in-person showings allowed in Phase 2 in New York City? Yes, in-person showings are permitted as part of Phase 2. Recommended best practices include, but are not limited to, the following. Before a showing, agents should ask all potential visitors to a property to first fill out a health screening questionnaire to determine whether visitors have COVID symptoms, or have been in contact with anyone who has tested positive for COVID or may have symptoms within the past 14 days. Agents should send a COVID-19 disclosure form to all attendees for e-signature. Agents should establish with buyers and/or buyers' agents ahead of time the appointment start and end times and the fact that they're finite in order to allow for appropriate time to clean and disinfect the property in between appointments. Agents should advise attendees by email prior to the appointment that they are required to wear appropriate face coverings for the duration of the appointment, including when inside any common areas of a condo or co-op building. Agents must comply with respective building and management guidelines. Prior to arriving for any showing, agents should familiarize themselves with such protocols, including but not limited to designated hours for showings, elevator usage, advance notice requirements, and access for showing amenity spaces. Attending parties should check their temperatures at home to ensure it is below 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit prior to showing up for any appointment. Any party may cancel or postpone a showing without penalty upon any indication of COVID-19 cold or flu-like symptoms. Buyer's agent is encouraged to attend via video conference or other virtual means. In-person attendees should be limited to seller's agent and buyer, with buyer's agent attending virtually. Agents should advise sellers and tenants that they must not be present at any point during the showing. Showing time should be staggered so as not to have the next scheduled buyer or prospective tenant waiting outside for the current showing to end, and to allow time for sanitization of frequently touched surfaces. Licensees and buyers or tenants are encouraged not to bring young children or unnecessary guests to property showings. During a showing, all parties attending a showing must wear appropriate face coverings for the duration of the appointment. Should any party arrive without a face covering, or upon any indication of fever or other illness, either party may cancel or postpone the appointment without penalty. Gloves and shoe coverings can also be required by the owner, broker, tenant, and/or prospective management. When possible, seller's agent should open unit windows to introduce fresh outside air. Listing agent must also provide alcohol-based hand sanitizer and/or hand soap and paper towels to all visitors upon arrival. Do not shake hands during in-person interactions. Agent to instruct attendees to only touch essential surfaces, such as the use of a handrail to go up or down stairs. Consumers should be instructed not to touch other areas or surfaces, including cabinets, countertops, and appliances. If buyer's agent is not in attendance, seller's agent should escort the buyer to the lobby prior to arrival of the following appointment. After a showing, following current CDC guidelines, seller's agent must clean and disinfect all frequently touched areas and surfaces inside the property upon the conclusion of each appointment. Agents should not dispose of PPE at the property being shown. Agents should also email sellers and tenants to confirm that all frequently touched areas and surfaces have been cleaned and disinfected after each appointment. Are open houses by appointment only allowed during Phase 2 in New York City? If open houses are allowed by a condo or co-op building, then REBNY says that open houses should be conducted by appointment only, with one party inside the property at a time. Prior to advertising any appointment-based open house, agents should review and confirm designated protocol as established by the building. Appointment-based open houses should not be conducted if maintenance of appropriate social distance is not possible for all parties at all times. Sellers and listing agents should also remember that many third-party listing websites may not allow the posting of open houses at certain points during the reopening phases, and it remains to be seen when such restrictions may be lifted or reimposed. How can sellers and listing agents limit their liability due to COVID? COVID disclosure form. Agents should have any party entering a property sign a COVID disclosure form to limit potential liability from exposure to the virus. This is quite important, especially since it is difficult to prove where any COVID patient became infected, and as a result, it can be quite easy to assume liability even if the agent takes all recommended precautions. Per guidance from REBNY on limiting agents' liability due to COVID, agents must always comply with respective building and management guidelines. Prior to arriving for any showing, agents should familiarize themselves with such protocols, including but not limited to designated hours for showings, elevator usage, and access to amenity spaces. Now, where a REBNY member is involved with the coordination of in-person or on-site visits to a property by either vendors or consumers, a limitation of liability form should be utilized. The purpose of the form is to advise any party who is entering a property or who is permitting another party to enter a property of the potential liability that may result from exposure to COVID-19. By signing the form, such party acknowledges and assumes the risks associated with conducting in-person activities and the consequences that may result from any potential exposure. A REBNY member who is involved in the coordination of in-person property visits should provide the form to the parties who will be involved in such visits. The form should be used for in-person visits to both residential and commercial properties. Health screening questionnaire. Agents and sellers should ask all potential visitors to a property to first fill out a health screening questionnaire to determine whether said visitors have COVID, symptoms of COVID, or have been in contact with anyone who has tested positive or who might have symptoms. If you decide to exercise this precaution, remember to apply the requirement to all potential visitors in order to comply with federal, state, and local fair housing laws. So there you have it. We hope you found this video helpful. And if you did, please do us a favor, hit like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. I'm Nick at Hauseit. Best of luck out there in phase 2 and beyond, and we'll see you on the next video.